Let's learn how to talk about comparisons of equality and inequality in Spanish. Notice the word igual means same, diferente or inigual are different, and we use different terms when we're making comparisons of equality versus inequality. First, let's look at comparisons of equality. When we make comparisons of equality, we're always going to use the word como. And then, depending on what we're comparing, we'll also add another word. We'll either use tan, tanto, or tanto, tanta, tantos, or tantas. If we're comparing adjectives or adverbs, we're going to use tan and como. If we're using verbs, we're going to use tanto and como. Now, if we're using nouns, this is where we're going to have to pay attention to the gender and number. If we're using nouns, we use either tanto, tanta, tantos, or tantas, depending upon the gender and number of the noun we're comparing. And because this seems to trip us up, I want to again highlight with nouns, we need to pay attention to the gender and number. So if we're comparing adjectives or adverbs, our format is tan, then either the adjective or the adverb, and the verb, the word como. Marta es tan educada como su madre. Here, educada is an adjective. Do you think you can translate this sentence? Marta is as courteous or polite as her mother. And I threw you for a loop here because educada is a false cognate, a false friend. It does not mean educated. It means courteous or polite. Fernando limpia la casa tan rápido como yo. Rápido is an adverb. Go ahead and think about the translation. Fernando cleans the house as quickly as I. Now it's your turn. Here we have two glasses that are as full as each other. Which verb will we use, estar or ser? If you chose estar, you're correct because being full or empty is transient. I'm going to give you a second to fill in the blank. El vaso uno está tan lleno como el vaso dos. Now let's look at an adverb. These cars are driving. Which verb do we use for to drive? If you thought of manejar or conducir, you're correct. I'm going to give you a second to fill in the blanks. El Mercedes maneja tan rápido como el Audi. Now, if we're comparing verbs, the format will be the verb plus tanto como together. Bailo tanto como Ernesto. I'll give you a second to translate that. I dance as much as Ernesto. Íñigo cocina tanto como Adelita. Go ahead and translate. Íñigo cooks as much as Adelita. Here we have two children, and what are they doing? What is the verb for to eat? Yes, it's comer. The boy eats as much as the girl. Go ahead and fill in the blanks. El niño come tanto como la niña. Now, if what we're comparing are nouns, This is when we have to pay attention to the gender and number. Manuel tiene tanto café como Natalia. Notice café is masculine and singular, so we use tanto. What does it mean? Manuel has as much coffee as Natalia. Isabel tiene tanta paciencia como una santa. Now notice paciencia here is feminine and singular, so we use tanta. And what does it mean? Isabel has as much patience as a saint. Now let's turn to the plurals. Samuel come tantos tacos como Benjamín. And again, tacos are plural and masculine, so we use tantos to match. Samuel eats as many tacos as Benjamin. Juanita bebe tantas botellas de vino como tú. Now, botellas is the noun at issue here. Don't be fooled by vino. We're talking about the bottles. And because botellas is feminine and plural, we use tantas to match. Juanita drinks as many bottles of wine as you. Now it's your turn, and here we have bridesmaids and bouquets, and the verb I'm looking for means to have. If you thought of the verb tener, you're correct. The bridesmaids have as many flowers as the bride. Go ahead and fill in the blanks. Las damas de honor tienen tantas flores como la novia. And again, we have tantas because flores is feminine and plural. Here we have two people drinking wine. Do you remember the verb for to drink? Yes, it is beber. The man drinks as much red wine as the woman. Go ahead and fill in the blanks. El hombre bebe tanto vino tinto como la mujer. And again, vino is masculine and singular, so we use tanto. Here's a quick review. If we're comparing adjectives or adverbs, the format is tan plus the adjective or adverb, then the word como. Amy es tan contenta como Marta. And what does this mean? Amy is as happy as Marta. Now, if we're comparing verbs, the format is the verb plus tanto como together. Amy estudia tanto como Marta. And what does that mean? Amy studies as much as Marta. And if we're comparing nouns, this is where we're going to use tanto and change it depending on the noun and the word como. Amy tiene tantas muñecas como Marta. And that means Amy has as many dolls as Martha. Now let's look at comparing inequality. When we make comparisons of inequality, we always use the word que, which translates to that or than. If we want to express more, we'll use the word más in addition to que. If we want to express less or fewer, we're going to use the word menos in addition to que. The placement of más or menos and the word que and the words we're comparing will vary depending on what we're comparing. It's going to make more sense as we go through the slides. If we're comparing an adjective, our format is más or menos, the adjective, the word que. Moisés es más alto que Jesús. And that means Moisés is taller than Jesús. Araceli está menos contenta que Alicia. Araceli is less happy or less content than Alicia. Here we have two people, and let's compare their height. Which verb do we use, ser or estar? To how tall or how short you are, we use the verb ser because that's considered to be an identifying type of characteristic. So we want to say Martin is taller than Julia. Go ahead and put the right words in there. Martín es más alto que Julia. Now, if we're comparing adverbs, it's the exact same format. Más or menos plus the adverb plus the word que. Marisol conduce más rápido que todos. And what does this mean? Marisol drives faster than everyone. Sandra come más despacio que José. And what does this mean? Sandra eats more slowly than Jose. Here we have people running. What is the verb for to run? If you remembered correr, you're correct. Runner 122 runs faster than the rest. I'll give you a second to fill in the blanks. El corredor 122 corre más rápido que el resto. Now, if we're comparing nouns, same format, más o menos plus the noun plus the word que. Gladys tiene más problemas que Ana. Poor Gladys, what does this mean? Gladys has more problems than Ana. Martín me da más regalos que José. And this means Martin gives me more gifts than Juan. Now in this picture, the kids are carrying books. Do you remember the word for carry? It is llevar. The boy carries more books than the girl. Go ahead and fill in the blank. El chico lleva más libros que la chica. If we're comparing people and what they do, we have a slightly longer format. We start with the subject, the verb, and this is the only time you're going to put más or menos together with que, and you're going to end with whatever you're comparing it to. For example, Carlos come más que Max. Carlos eats more than Max. Andrea estudia menos que Jorge. Andrea studies less than Jorge. Here's an example, and what is everybody doing here? They are sleeping. What is the verb for to sleep? It is dormir. Babies sleep more than their parents. Go ahead and fill in the blanks. Los bebés duermen más que sus padres. And that is the end of our slideshow.